Hello everyone, and welcome back to the reading of The Puzzle, A Gift from Spirit with Kelly Allen. And today I'm going to be reading the final chapter in the book, The Resonance Revolution. And this is also quite a lengthy chapter like the last one, so I'm going to just read one quote and then jump right in. I think it's darkness before the dawn because the next evolution is going to be a consciousness evolution instead of a communication revolution. Ram Dass. Resonance Revolution, the coming paradigm shift. We all sense it, we can feel it in the air, and most of the world is discussing it. We know something big is coming, yet many of us aren't sure what it is yet. Some are predicting huge catastrophes across the planet. Others are forecasting a gigantic shift in consciousness. There is much talk about the Mayan and other calendars and predictions for the coming 2012 year. What if they are all right? Could it be that what you project through your thoughts is exactly what you are creating in your future destiny? And if so, can we collectively alter the present destiny of the future for humanity? When we change our thoughts, we change our world, are the very insightful words spoken by Norman Vincent Peale. His words contain a timeless wisdom and resonate now with a clarity and vitality perhaps more so than ever before. The world has become inundated and overwhelmed by the thoughts and emotion of fear, and it's time to change our thoughts, our attention and intention from that of fear-driven reaction to a love-driven, proactive and creative energy. As individuals, we have encapsulated ourselves in the illusion of form and matter. We've forgotten that we're spiritual beings, sparks of the divine, having a human experience. As beings of society, we have shifted our focus from that of spirit to placing a higher concentration and importance on the physical and the material. Our sense of identity and status has become directly attached to our possessions, our job and title, our income level, the number of quote, toys that we own, and a variety of other tangibles in the physical realm. In doing so, we've allowed ourselves to become a society driven by fear. One of the greatest fears, especially to the ego, is the loss of self, which again we perceive to be the material possessions and representations of status. People lose their jobs, their houses, their cars, and immediately they change their self-perceived status or identity from success to failure. They have identified who they are for so long with these things that they even feel as if they may cease to have a purpose, to exist. Of course, this is the farthest thing from the truth and reality possible. And this is the first of many ways in which our attachment to form has allowed fear to enter and take over our lives. If you watch television, you are bombarded with, quote, symptoms you may be experiencing, and the pharmaceutical drugs available to address these symptoms. Of course, they are equaled by the number of legal ads providing a laundry list of side effects you may have experienced from your drug treatment, and a call to action in obtaining your deserved compensation as a victim. Newspapers, magazines, TV, news shows, radio and talk TV shows are all permeated with information about protecting yourself from bacteria, infectious disease, chemicals in your food and beverages, etc. We are assaulted with a constant barrage of information regarding our need to prevent or fight illness. The number of products available for purchase to help defend us against the aging process is staggering. Of course, it's not just our physical well-being that we are told is in danger. Through all forms of media, we are also cautioned against the many forms of mental conditions from which we may be suffering. We are told that we and our children may suffer from attention deficit disorder, depression, stress and anxiety, and a host of other illnesses brought on by our past and our present conditions. Of course, the remedy suggested to address this is usually some form of pharmaceutical treatment, which may lead to side effects being, quote, suffered by the patient. Not only are we continually reminded to be concerned about the health of our body and mind, but we are constantly reminded of the need to be concerned for our safety. Again, TV commercials and the media deliver a steady stream of information regarding crime and its increase in our nation, our world. Security companies remind us of the importance of protecting our families with alarm systems to prevent break-ins and to ward off criminals in a break-in attempt. Newscasters and hosts of crime shows sensationalize crimes taking place around the country and perpetuate the feelings of fear in their viewers. The country will become captivated by a crime story, and it will grip the hearts and minds of the viewers for days and sometimes even weeks or months, while present-day wars take a back seat in current event news, even though many die on a daily basis. Of course, the installation of fear in the minds of humanity is what led to the wars in the first place. Both during campaigns and throughout the terms of office, politicians remind us of the threat of terror and the dangers of other countries, potential enemies, advancing in power. We are reminded that patriotism comes with a price, and a price we must be willing to pay. And so we march on in our efforts to prepare for what fear is telling us is possible, which eventually becomes probable and is fed by fear until it is finally inevitable. I'm not making any specific assertions here, so please don't question my patriotism. However, I am making an observation of fact. Why have I given time to this topic and to pointing out that fear of poor physical and mental health, fear of crime, and fear of national enemies are delivered and reinforced in our minds on a daily basis? Primarily because it is true, as I briefly mentioned regarding the law of attraction, that what we give our focus to is exactly what we attract into our lives. Is it any wonder, as a society, we've seen an increase in poor mental and physical health, an increase in crime, and an increase in wars? We have become a reactive society and civilization, not only reacting to our ever-growing fear, but proliferating the manifestation of the very things that we fear through the law of attraction. Everything we manifest in our lives, both individually and as a collective consciousness, is a creative response to our present thoughts and is manifested in direct relation to our thoughts. So what if we could change our thoughts, thereby creating and manifesting a new and better reality? The great news is we can. Could we, as a society, replace poor mental and physical health with good health and well-being? Could crime rates actually decrease? Could we eventually and ultimately learn to live together in peace? Since we know that the very things we give our attention to, our primary focus each day, directly correlates to what we experience, what would happen if we as a society began to put our attention and intention toward peace, harmony, and love? Well, I have more great news. People have already begun to do so, and it is working. There is an awakening taking place across our country and throughout the world in which people have begun to take back control of their lives and, more importantly, our future. As a worldwide people, we've allowed our thoughts and fears of loss to drive our financial status to the edge, some believe over the edge, of total collapse. Could it be that this is one of the best things to happen to us in the history of the human race? I believe so. As the world becomes a smaller place and as we become more connected and reliant on one another, we realize more and more that we have far more in common than we have differences. We have all fallen into the same fear trap, yet ultimately we all want the same things. Our greatest desire in common is to have peace, health, and security for our families, and joy-filled experiences in our lives. As humanity, we are snapping out of the state of hypnosis we have all shared, and we are awakening to the truth and purpose of our existence. Like the choice offered the lead character Neo in the movie The Matrix, we are being offered the red pill or the blue pill. You may recall that the blue pill would return him to his old life, and a red pill would allow him to learn the answers he seeks. Collectively, large numbers of us have chosen the red pill, and we have awakened from the numbness of our hypnotic dream states. As sparks of the divine spirit, we have begun to recognize our roles in this grand production, and we now realize not only who we are, but also how much we control the script through our free will and through our thoughts and intention. Some will choose the blue pill for now, and may continue to proclaim loudly that we are victims to the circumstances of our lives. They will reinforce their idea and belief that we are powerless to change our destinies and outcomes. These individuals have not yet awakened to the realization of the power they possess within. They are not yet aware of exactly who they are. In time, they too will feel the calling of awakening to spirit and will undergo a transformation. Until then, it's not our place to judge their spirituality, just as it is not our place to judge the path of any other. One day they may experience the same realization we enjoy, advance rapidly beyond our level of consciousness, and they may very well provide the help we need to take the next step in raising our spiritual awareness. It is important, however, that we know the truth for ourselves and understand the potential we hold in helping society as a whole in the awakening process. There is no us against them in this scenario, only a unified we, with all of us given the opportunity to help and to be helped as we mutually sustain our spiritual growth through contrast and experience. As we individually choose to deny the messages of fear that inundate us through the press, media, advertisements, conversations, etc., we can begin to do our part in manifesting and creating a new reality for this planet. By our very thoughts and focused intentions, we can visualize a world in which we are healthy, both physically and mentally, and enjoy a life expressed with joy and love rather than fear. In doing so, we inadvertently affect those around us in a positive way, and we support a vibration that results in the propagation of greater and higher resonance. This results in the attainment of higher consciousness, which fosters a cycle opposite of that of the fear cycle that has taken a hold of us as a people. If you are sensitive to what is happening in the world, you can see that this is exactly what has been and continues to take place, and you can see that the rate at which it has taken place is rapidly growing. As a people who have historically given in to the illusion of materialism, as I mentioned previously, we have finally come to the place of almost exhaustion. We've worked ourselves to the bone, as the saying goes. We've stressed ourselves out to the point of heart failure and other diseases. We've bought into false societal expectations of what is important and what justifies us to have a sense of pride and accomplishment. We've seen what that illusion offers: broken families, heartache, and dysfunction. These conditions have only furthered our descent into the pit of fear and despair as we tried to remedy ourselves in reactive behavior and further pursuit of possessions, leading to bitterness, greater despondency, and ultimately right into the hands of the fear messengers who tell us the answers lie in even more material possessions, pharmaceutical drugs, alcohol, endless therapy, or all of the above. We're now seeing, as a result of awakening, that many individuals in the healthcare industry are taking serious the older, alternative, natural forms of medicine. Holistic approaches are not only now considered valid, but popular, and they're proving to be highly effective and without all the side effects that result in the need for even more treatment. Many therapists are now treating the whole being, mind, body, and spirit, and due to its success, this is increasing in popularity and demand. People are coming together now with a high understanding of who they are and their connectedness to one another. The collective resonance is rising, and the results are becoming more and more apparent. Even the things that can be perceived as negative, such as the vast loss of jobs, are causing people to reevaluate and move in a positive direction. In the not too distant past, one working person would provide an income that would sustain a comfortable living for a family. Society continued the descent into materialistic madness and delivered us the messages of, quote, self-worth, telling us that we needed more in order to be truly successful. Technology advances brought us the promise that they would simplify our lives and afford us these luxuries. Instead, we found ourselves working more and more hours and placing greater demands on ourselves in the process. Eventually, one breadwinner in the household wasn't enough to satisfy, and both parents needed to work. The hours demanded of both increased, and the family unit became more and more distanced. We gradually allowed ourselves to become more and more enslaved by our drive for, quote, success and societal expectations. Greed had grabbed the Achilles heel of society, and we were well on our way to establishing the perfect storm. Something had to happen to end the madness, and our fears manifested the very answer. although most of us would see it as a terrible injustice to affect our victimized society. And yet, it would fuel an awakening that would rival any rise in consciousness to have taken place in history. The current economic crisis, as we like to call it, has resulted in a wake-up call for our nation and for the people of the world. As a people, a majority of us find ourselves facing some of the greatest insecurity we've known. Job security is a concept to which most can no longer lay claim. Since mid-2006, and due to the economic crisis, millions of homes have been foreclosed on and millions have lost their jobs. Those still employed count themselves as very fortunate, but they also know this is something that could change at any time. Of course, society, being used to operating in reactive mode, saw this situation as a grand opportunity to proclaim their status again as a victim of the man, victim of injustice, victim of greed, and the list goes on and on. However, something interesting began to happen. People suddenly found that they had time to spend with the ones they loved. They suddenly had time to evaluate their lives. They had time to think. They had time for contemplation and reflection. Most importantly, they had time to question. How did we get to this place? How could we have allowed ourselves to get so unbalanced? How did our priorities get so out of whack? What does it all really mean? Why am I here? What's my purpose? And these questions resulted in a new focus and ultimately a new intention. As we all reflect on our lives and we begin to ask the important questions about the things that matter most, we find that the old adage, "When the student is ready, the teacher will come," delivers on its promise. The very fact that you are reading this book indicates to me that you have joined me and countless others in response to an awakening that is taking place inside of you. Spirit has responded to your desire to better understand our purpose on this planet and our reason for living. As we all begin to awaken as one human race, we will find that we look back and wonder as to how we could have gotten so wrapped up in the roles we played in this grand drama we call life. More and more we will come to the fullness and understanding that we, as sparks of the divine, are unique expressions of God's creation, and we are meant to have joy-filled experiences of life filled with passion, creativity. We are meant to love one another as we love ourselves. We are all taking part in a significant shift in consciousness that is moving through us on this planet. We are experiencing a paradigm shift in which love is going to replace fear. As we change our thoughts, our attention, and our intention from that of fear-driven reaction to a love-driven, proactive, and creative energy, we will not only witness, but partake in this incredible shift as creators. Then we will all experience the richness of a passion-filled, dream-realized, creative life we were meant to enjoy.